Rob, we talked about the Knicks briefly, or the Pacers just in the last segment. Let's talk a little more about the Knicks and get to the second round, go 7 games. Rob, Julius Randle out, Mitchell Robinson out, Jalen Brunson ultimately, Rob, is out because in the third quarter he broke his hand. Third quarter of game 7. Who am I missing? OG Anunoby out. Those are 4 starters. And Bogan Bogdanovic out. I mean, it was ridiculous at the end of the series how depleted the Knicks were. And for that reason, Rob, a lot of people really, felt like the Knicks showed a ton of heart and that overall it was really a good showing, gutsy showing for the Knicks this season. Jalen Brunson, Rob, thought differently. Here he is when asked if the season was a success.
Did we win a championship? Did we get close? So, no. That's my mindset. That's just how it is.
Rob, your thoughts?
I'm not mad at that whole idea. I don't know if they were going to win the championship. What I will say, Chris, and he should be disappointed, and you can make any excuses you want. They were hurt. They've been hurt. They were without Julius Randle all up to this point. Everybody was yelling about Brunson being a superstar, and oh my God, look at the Knicks, and nobody was counting them out because of the injuries. They've been playing without.
Would you agree that there's a difference between an excuse and an explanation?
Sure, I get that, but here's my only thing.
Because they had OG when they started the series. Once they lost him, Rob, yep. I mean, that dude, they were 26-5 with him, and I think they ended up 14-17 without him since he joined the team. So that's a huge difference. When he lost him, it was like, my goodness.
I'll just look at it from this. Brunson played in the first half when that game was decided. He didn't play well before the hand, Chris. I get it. I don't want to sit here and act like the injuries didn't factor in. But most people I talked to, even going into that game, honestly thought that they had a shot to win, and they did.
Of course.
And they didn't. I mean, I'm just saying. And from their standpoint, they're back where we are. Do we know? I don't know. Next year, are they going to get past the second round next year when everybody's healthy? This is what
we'll see what changes they make. But as they are, no.
Yeah, and this was an opportunity.
So you feel like the season was not a success?
They're in the same spot that they were a year ago. Right? They beat Cleveland in the first round, lost in the second round. That's
but
all.
But there are circumstances. I like my leader saying what Jalen Brunson said. I like him setting a standard. Like, this is not what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to create a little bit of excitement, a little bit of buzz, and basically be a mediocre playoff team. We've got to get better. I'm here to win a championship. I'm here to bring the Knicks their first championship in more than 50 years. I like that. But, Rob, he's on the inside, and that's how he should feel. But we're on the outside. And looking at the Knicks, taking it all together, the season was a rousing success. First of all, for Jalen Brunson, he made it his first All-Star team. He's going to make his first All-NBA team. Rob, he's got one more year left on his deal, and then he's got a player option. He has set himself up to now get a max-level contract. For him, it was an incredible success, and some people are considering him a superstar. And for the Knicks as a whole, you can't ignore the injuries. I mean, it was ridiculous how their players were going down left and right. Whether you blame Tibbs or not, they still were going down. And they, Rob, they revamped their reputation. You talk about an image makeover. Nobody nationally thinks much of the Knicks, but nationally, their games have drawn the best ratings in the playoffs. People saw how raucous the Garden was. People saw all the celebrities and rappers in the front rows. People saw all the 90s stars, Allen Houston, Latrell Sprewell, Larry Johnson, John Starks, Stephon Marbury, 90s and later.
I didn't see Charles Oakley, though.
Yeah, Oakley wasn't there.
Okay.
But the rest of them were. And they actually flew them, I assume.
Good assumption.
But they were in Indianapolis, Rob. Those dudes they traveled. My point is, it was a great look for the Knicks. First of all, they play with heart. They play with toughness. They exhaust themselves. They get every ounce out of their ability. And then they've got the superstars or stars from the past supporting them. Like, that's the type of atmosphere and image makeover, Rob, that I think could make them attractive to a free agent. So I think, and look, yeah, it would have been great to get to the next round. Technically, they lost to a lesser team and a lower seed.
A 6 seed that they were up 2-0 on in the series.
But it was a 6 seed that was healthy. We can't belittle. Not only was Brunson, Rob, he was also playing hurt. I mean, that's the thing, too. It wasn't like he was even 100% until he broke his hand. They thought he might be out for the series with the foot injury. So I just don't know. Look, maybe they would have shocked the world and beat Boston. We all doubt it. And it would have been better to get to the conference finals, of course. But I think overall, Rob, just stepping back and looking at this, I don't know how it can be called anything but a success. We know they weren't a real 2 seed.
Yeah, but they had an opportunity. I'm just saying, Chris, when you look at it, I think it's a missed opportunity. You lost four of the last 4 or 5 to lose the series. You lose a Game 7 at home. Your star didn't show up in the first half of that game. Not that it would have mattered because the Pacers shot 72%, but you know.
But it's a context.
I know there's a context.
You know what I mean?
But they're no better than they were to me. I mean, and that's probably why.
If Denver had lost, let's say, Jokic, or Jokic was playing hurt and Murray was out for the series, wouldn't you look at them losing to Minnesota differently than we look at it now?
Well, I mean, they were without. They wound up still being in that series, Chris. They won a Game 5, right? What was it, 2-2? And then they won a Game 5, banged up, and they were impressive in that win, right? Then they go up, and then they lost the last 2. I'm not taking away the injuries. I just ultimately, if you're a Knicks fan, did you really what step did you take that make you any different from being getting knocked out in the second?
You revamped your image.
Okay.
You don't think
I just think that's window dressing.
Better?
Yeah.
Well, look, they haven't been able to get free agents, Rob. And look, that's a question too. And we talked with Lindsey Hunter last hour about Thibodeau. And Rob, The Athletic did a story a couple weeks ago where the players voted anonymously on a number of things.
Yep.
And Thibodeau was overwhelmingly the coach that they least wanted to play for.
And Chris, that's 3 straight years, and it's getting worse every year as far as players not wanting to play for him.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard he's gotten a little better than he was, say, 15 years ago, but still, that's relative, right? He still may be more. It's interesting, Rob, because I think there are coaches in the NBA, and Tibbs is probably one of them. I don't know for a fact. But there are some coaches in the NBA, Rob, where they get every ounce of ability. They maximize a team's potential. Like a team that's not that talented, they get the absolute most out of them, right? Team's not that good, but they'll get 47 wins out of them and a playoff series victory. But when they get some real, legitimate talent, they overcoach and limit the talent. Now, again, I don't know if Tibbs is that guy. He really hasn't had a ton of talent. I get Minnesota, he had, Karl Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler with some injuries. That was his, really most negative coaching experience. He didn't do a great job there. And that team had talent.
Right.
Maybe the most. Chicago had Derrick Rose, but not a ton, right there. Boozer was really good, or, made a few
Who was it?
all-star
Noah?
teams.
Was Noah
Joe
on that
Kim
team?
Noah, Luau
Right.
Dang.
They had some players.
I think he kind of maximized that too. But that is the question. Would a Paul George, especially Rob, at this late stage of his career, does he want to play for Tibbs? And it's kind of a quandary because on the one hand, this Knicks team isn't that good without a coach like Tibbs. On the other hand, will you attract the caliber of star that you need to get to the next level?
And if Tibbs is your coach, will you, Chris, be healthy enough to make a real run? The track record says no.
How much of this do you put on him?
Some,
the injuries?
not all, some, because there's a pattern and it's happened before. It's not the first time or whatever, and there's some to that, Chris. You could look at guys who are banged up under Tibbs and how much he has these guys do it. Lindsey brought it up. This stuff goes around the NBA. They know. You know what I mean? You know what we're doing in practice? Like, this dude is like killing us. Are you crazy? Right. Man, I wouldn't want to play for him. And then at the end of the season, you don't have enough juice. That's not good.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe we'll get a doctor on, Rob, one of these days this week to talk about it. But the injuries you look at, Rob, were not. OG Anunoby had the hamstring injury. That's one you might be able to pin on Tibbs. Bogdanovich had a ankle injury. He just stepped on the dude's foot, turned his ankle. So you can't blame. That can happen to anybody. Jalen Brunson breaks his hand just hitting, we think it was hitting Tyrese Halliburton's thigh on a fast break. That's just kind of a freak thing. Julius Randle, we know you can't blame his injury. Was it the shoulder? That's just the type of thing that could happen. So you can't necessarily blame that on Tibbs. And so that's I don't know if you can put these injuries on Tibbs. And then in the abdominal strain, Josh Hart, I don't know. Is that on Tibbs? I don't know.
No, I get it, Chris.
You can't look at the minutes in the regular season. Nobody played more than 35 minutes a game.
Right.
Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle played 35 minutes a night. So I think in the playoffs, Rob, they had so many people out that their list of quality players was very small. And I think he was. So if he has those guys, is he playing them that long? I doubt it. So I think Tibbs probably has learned a little bit, and people need to look at that when these free agents, if they're considering the Knicks, really look at it.
Yeah, I think people felt great about them before yesterday, and obviously that when you fall flat like that, it takes some of the air out of your sails, Chris. But you're probably right. Like the vibe or the feel is better than it was. Like to think that
they feel like a legit.
To think that Brunson played as well as he did, and they didn't get any further than they did a year ago. Like that.
Yeah, but that's all they have.
No, I know. I know. But I'm just saying that's what it feels like to me.